I don't really usually make eye contact anyway, so this is really weird.
Just look at like my chest. Like you're fine.
No, I'll look at your eyes. I'll be really freaky about it too. Okay. It differs day to day, but on a normal day, we usually wake up, or I wake up at like 5:50, and then practice starts around 6:15 or 6:30, and then that lasts until 8:30, and then right after that, I'll go. Some people have to shower in the locker room, but I have the luxury of going back to my dorm and showering. Not that the locker room isn't nice; it's nice, but and then after that, I'll go to philosophy, and then I get lunch with some of my teammates, and then I'll go to sports medicine because I twisted my ankle, so we're working on that. And then I have genetics, and then straight after genetics, I basically have to run to the bus for 3:35 practice, and then we get back around like 6:45, depending, and then I'll go to dinner with my teammates, and then homework.
So rowing is pretty much 100% of your day commitment.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Okay. How did you get involved with rowing?
So my freshman year of high school, I played volleyball, and I loved it a lot. I still love volleyball, but I kept twisting my ankle like multiple times, and I actually broke it in 8th grade, so it was just like really weak at that point. And I kept twisting it, and I got really terrible at volleyball because I was always on the bench. And then one of my friends, she was like, oh, you should come try rowing. And at that point, they were in the middle of winter training, so we were on the rowing machine all the time. And like, the rowing machine's the worst thing ever, also known as the erg. And so I was like, why does anyone like this sport? Like, this is terrible. But I kept with it for some reason. And then once we got on the water, which is actually the fun part, I fell in love with it, and like, I loved my friends a lot and loved the sport a lot, and I'm a really competitive person, so it was like the perfect place for me. And then, so yeah, I kept doing it freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year of high school, and then I decided to commit to UNC.
So what has been the biggest difference between college rowing to high school rowing? And preface, like, compared to high school?
Okay, compared to high school, it's a lot. High school rowing, it's not like it was a joke, but it was definitely recreational, and it was definitely like my teammates and I would joke around during practice, and our coaches cared, but they would joke around with us, and it was only one practice a day, and it wasn't waking up early. Like, I would be normal, and I'd go to school, and then I'd go to practice for like 2 hours after school, and then I'd go home, or like I'd go hang out with friends, and it like wasn't that big of a deal. But in college, it's like 100% of the time, and it's like 80% of my best friends, and it's all the stress because it is so much of your life. So if you don't do well, it's all encompassing and you feel it. Whereas in high school, you didn't really feel that stress if you weren't excelling. And then there's a lot less time to do homework, so it affects school a lot too. And I definitely have to structure my day more. But yeah.
Awesome. What was it like transitioning? Like, what was it like your first couple weeks in the program?
Oh, they were crazy.
And tell me, like, my first couple weeks.
Okay, my first couple weeks of freshman year were really insane. I thought at the time that I was having a really good time, but I was actually so stressed because I was so obsessed with, like, or not obsessed, but I really wanted to, like, befriend these girls because I knew I was going to be with them for 4 years, and I didn't really do any of my homework because I really wanted to exceed in rowing, and I really wanted to exceed socially, and I didn't really put my priorities in the right place. And you really have to balance, so when you're not correctly balancing, everything kind of falls apart. So the transition was tough, and like, I had to get used to the tougher coaches and the stricter schedule, and not really being able to do what, like, my sweet mates weren't on the team, so not being able to hang out with them every second of every day was different. And I felt like a lot of my life was practice, and I didn't feel like anyone wanted to hear about it because why would they? Like, it had nothing to do with them. So I felt like I kind of had to keep it in. So I kind of split my life into 2 parts, and it was the rowing me and the not rowing me. And now I feel like I've struck a healthier balance, but those first 2 weeks were really hard. First month was really hard, and then I feel like I found my flow.
Awesome. What is your favorite part about being on the rowing team?
Oh my gosh, the people. my favorite part about being on the team is the people, for sure. My best friends are on the team, most of them. Not all of them, of course. But so my class, we started out being 22 girls, because walk-ons don't really know what they're getting themselves into most of the time. So some of them stick it out, but some of them don't. And so we got whittled down to 10 girls. And so my class is super close. We're all we're a very diverse group, but we got super tight super quickly. And so that's been incredible. And I'm very close with the older girls, but me and some of my friends all live together, and that's just been amazing because it's been great to have like people who have the same schedule and same priorities as you. And I love the sport, obviously, but if it weren't for the people, I would not be here.
Okay, that was awesome.
Excellent.
What is the hardest part about being on the rowing team?
The hardest part about being on the team is definitely, so I talked a little about the rowing machine, the erg. That's definitely the hardest part because it is literally a screen in your face, like telling you how fast you're going every single stroke that you take. It tells you, oh, you're slowing down. It tells you, oh, you're speeding up. It tells you, like, you're letting yourself go, and it tells you that you're going slower than the girl next to you, which is hard because you want so badly to cheer on your teammates and, like, you want your team to do well. You want your team to get stronger, but watching your teammates get stronger than you do is, like, very selfishly hard. So that makes it difficult because you're competing. I mean, the sport is to compete with other schools. Like, you want to beat Duke, obviously, but it's also just a competition, and this is for all sports, but it's a competition within the team too, to see like who's going to make the first boat, who's going to make the second boat. So that's hard because sometimes it's just as relationships and friendships, because sometimes a girl who used to be a lot slower than you kills it and then way surpasses you, and you want to be happy for them, and they're your best friend, so you should be, but it's hard to. So yeah, that's probably the hardest part. And just the stress of it all, just the time management. I go to bed so many nights without doing my homework, and I just hope for the best the next day. So,
what would you say is the biggest misconception about female rowing, or what do you wish more people knew about rowing as a sport?
Okay. So the biggest misconception, this is kind of specific, but at the beginning of the year, the rowing team sends out a letter that's like, try out for the rowing team, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like that kind of gives people the thought that anyone can do it, and that sounds awful, but it's just like, it's one of the hardest sports ever. Like it's a full body workout, and it's like, if you've ever swam, it's a lot like swimming. It's just every muscle. It's hard to breathe, and oh man, and like the rowing machine just adds a whole nother aspect, and a lot of people don't really understand how hard it is and like what rowing is. Like people have told me, oh yeah, I rowed before, and I've been like, oh, when? And they're like, oh, like canoeing. And I was like, oh yeah, that's not the same thing. Just because it's not a well-known sport, and that is definitely a part of it, but I feel like it's getting better. Like I feel like people like you who love like cheering us on and knowing what the sport is about, like help with that. But I just feel like rowing as a whole is a very unknown sport, so people don't really know what goes into it as much as they do like soccer or football or swimming.
Kind of on that same note, how do you feel about female sports representation at a Division I university like UNC?
So that...
And Reese too.
Okay. The female sports are definitely not as popular as male sports, but that's what you'll find everywhere. Title IX has helped and hurt in a lot of very specific ways, but you know, like you look at the Dean Dome and you see all these seats. I don't even know what the capacity is, but it's a lot, and all of them are filled for the men's team. And then you see Carmichael, and they have to hand out t-shirts for people to come to their game, which is just not something the men would ever have to do, ever. Like people would kill for seats to any game, and so that's kind of sad to see. And it doesn't make sense, but it's just because men's sports are older and like men are technically more athletic. Hello? Hey, Lily. You're fine. Lily, didn't you do this project with Hattie?
I literally did this exact same thing. That is so cool. Sorry to interrupt. I'll be
No,
really
you're
so
fine.
I should have grabbed. Wait, so fun. What's your story?
You're funny.
I have to go get everyone's shoes. Wait, Patty? Lindsay.
She lives with Lindsay.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, are you an ACAIO too? I am. Yeah. So cool.
Lily's.
Alrighty. Okay. How do you feel about female sports representation at a D1 university like UNC?
So I think a lot about this actually. Female sports are obviously a lot less publicized and popular than male sports are. Like, you walk into the Dean Dome and you see it's massive, it's so big, and every game is almost always filled to capacity. And then you walk into Carmichael where the women play, and usually the seats aren't even full, and it's a lot smaller stadium to even begin with. And it makes sense to a certain degree. Like, men's sports are older than women's sports. Men are innately like more athletic than women, just like with their chemistry. So in that sense it makes sense, but it also it's kind of sad because the women put in just as much effort as the men, and they kind of do get underappreciated, and this is in every sport. But I'm so awkward. Can we redo that one?
Yes, absolutely.
So I definitely think that women's sports are a little bit more underappreciated than men's sports. I think like a good physical representation of that is like the Dean Dome versus Carmichael. Whenever you walk into the Dean Dome, like, it's massive. It's like a huge stadium, and it's always filled to capacity, and people would kill to get tickets. But then you walk into Carmichael for a women's game, and they're not even usually filled to capacity, and it's already a much smaller stadium. And that's with every sport. Men's sports are just like innately more popular than women's sports, which is sad, but it makes sense to a certain degree just because men's sports are older, and I don't know, maybe it doesn't make sense, but I think an important thing to realize is that men and women work just as hard. Like, they put in the same hours, and they wake up at the same time, and they have the same sort of practices, and just because men are men doesn't mean they're any more like trying any harder than the women are, and I wish people would acknowledge that more.
Cool. What would you say to a young female athlete, or what would you say to someone looking up to you, that kind of thing?
I would just say that anyone can be here. Truly, I was not that fast in high school. I honestly didn't think I was going to be able to row for a university, but my coach took a chance on me, and like, people will take chances on you too. And working hard will get you where you want to go. There's no set limit that you're born with to do anything. Like, you can do anything you want to do. And I don't know what to say after that.
Okay.
Ugh. What else do I go into?
Say something like, to all the young girls out there.
To all the young girls out there. Okay, I can talk about how, like, I wasn't sure that I wanted to row in college.
Yeah, perfect.
But, like, it was simultaneously the best and worst decision.
Yeah.
I'll make it sound better than that.
And, like, try to, like, sit still.
I know.
I know it's so hard. You're doing so good, though.
Okay. Have I been fidgeting?
Not too much.
Okay. I'm trying to think. How should I start? I would say to the younger girls out there playing sports or doing whatever they're doing that anyone can be here. Anyone can be playing at a university level. You just have to put in that work every day. And I wasn't good enough to play in college or row in college. I wasn't fast enough. I wasn't the fastest girl on my team, and my current coach took a chance on me, and other coaches will take a chance on you too. And it's a hard decision to decide to play or row or run or whatever in college, but do it, because it's not like any other experience that you're going to get anywhere else in your life. And it teaches you so many lessons socially and just how you plan out your day. And dang it, I messed up at the end.
You're so fine. You're good.
Ugh, frick. It was so good towards the beginning. And then I stuttered. Okay, ready? I would say, no, damn it. Okay. Ma. I feel so weird right now.
You're
okay.
so fine.
I need to stop spinning. Feet planted. Okay. I would say to anyone looking to play at the I would say to any You should make a bloopers reel. This is comical. Okay, I would say to anyone looking to play at the collegiate level you can do it. Anyone can be here. It's all about the hard work that you put in every day, and no matter where you start, it doesn't affect where you can end up. I technically wasn't fast enough to row at a collegiate level, but my coach took a chance on me, and other coaches can take a chance on you too. It's also a really hard decision to decide to play whatever sport you want to play in college, but do it. It's so unlike any other experience that you're going to get, and it's only 4 years. So only so much can happen in 4 years, and it makes you so much stronger and so much smarter with your day, and just makes you appreciate everything so much more. Oh!
And then, to kind of wrap it up, give me like that little sound bite about like, this is how my day starts.
Oh God, okay.
You're doing great.
My day starts. So I wake up at 5:50 every morning to my alarm. No, damn it, I don't like that. Every day that Every day my alarm goes off at 5:50 a.m. and I roll out of bed and put on the clothes that I laid out the night before because I can't stand to get out of bed any earlier. Me and my friends walk to practice, and we have to get there at about 6:15 to bring up all the equipment. Practice lasts from 6:30 to 8:30-ish, depending on how long the workout is. Sometimes it goes over, sometimes it goes under. And then after practice, we're all really gross, so we shower. Some people have the luxury of going home. Some people have to shower in the locker room. And then I'll go to class and try to pay attention. Sometimes I'll fall asleep because I have philosophy, and that's a tough one. And then after that, I'll go to lunch with my teammates, which is awesome. It's usually a debrief about practice, which is why rowing is 100% of my day, because it's always a debrief about practice. Then after that, I'll go to my genetics class, and then I'll practically run from Wilson to where the bus picks us up at Woolen Gym. We'll take the bus out to Jordan Lake. We'll stay there for 2.5 hours, and then we'll take the 20-minute bus ride back. So we'll get home around 6:45, and then I'll stuff dinner down my throat, and then I'll go do homework if I have the energy, and then I'll probably be in bed at 10:30 or earlier.
Perfect.
Cool.
Is there anything else? Maybe just like a one-liner, like rowing is blah 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 blah, something like that. You can just say anything that you want to put into the universe about rowing.
Oh gosh. I don't know, like what kind of thing?
Like rowing, it means to me that.
Rowing means to me. Jeez.
Or something like, well, it's been a challenge. I can't imagine my life.
Where, like, is it like an intro or like an ending, or
maybe like an ending kind of thing.
Can I just say, like, rowing is the hardest thing I have ever done or will ever do?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I don't sit like this ever. This is so serious,
You're
you know,
so
like.
Good. We're almost done.
Okay. Rowing is the hardest thing that I've ever done and will ever do. I'm sure of it, but there's not a day that I regret doing what I do, because I love it and I love my people and I love the sport. And I know that it's going to give me, nope, fuck that. Okay. And restart. And rowing is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done and will ever do, but there's not a day that I regret it. It's the most fun I've ever had, while simultaneously being the most work I've ever put into anything. I love my friends and I love the sport, and it has definitely made me the person I am today.
Perfect.
Bam, bitch.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I never want